Welcome back to No Holds Barred here at the Toronto Sun. Rob Wong and Postmedia wrestling writer Jan Murphy with you, speaking with former WWF European Intercontinental Champion. He was also a member of the Nation of Domination, D'Lo Brown. And we continue our conversation here with D'Lo. And, we talked about Mark Henry before, a member of the Nation that you were with, but so was Owen Hart. And Mark, talked
Hmm.
fondly about Owen had a great story to tell us about the Godwins, and they brought in some pigs for a pig pen match, and Owen may or
Yes,
may not have
sir.
directed the pigs into Vince's office, and
Yeah,
it caused
they
a
might have they might have ended up there somehow. Nobody knows how they got there.
yeah, nobody's not really sure, but somehow they ended up in Vince's office. Everybody's got an Owen story, and all of them seem to be absolutely hilarious. What is one Owen Hart story that you can tell us?
It's the one I tell all the time because it's my favorite. He and I are wrestling some house show somewhere, and I had been in the ring with Owen a few times. For some reason, this day I'm a little nervous, so I'm beating the teetotal hell out of Owen. Every time I hit him, I hear Owen go, "What are you doing?" And so all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he just grabs me, starts out wrestling me. Boom, and then snap mares me, puts a chin lock on, and goes, "Look at your boot." And I look down, and oh my God, my bootlace is undone. It's like the strings are out. Having your bootlaces out is like having your zipper down. You just don't do it. So I reach down and I stick it back in, right? I stick it in. I'm like, okay. So then we go wrestle around again. Snap mare me. Owen goes, "Look at your other boot." And I look down, my other boot string laces out. I'm like, what the heck? I'm like, I'm being so unprofessional. I can't believe this. So I tuck it down in there. We go again. Wrestle. Owen step mares me for the third time, chin locks me. I look down at both my boots, they're fine. And he goes, I hear in my ear, "Look at the ref's shoe." I look over at the ref's shoe, and his lace is untied. And I go, what? And I can hear Owen giggling behind me. And then Owen goes, "Are you relaxed now?" And I go, "Yeah." And he goes, "Now let's go wrestle." And we went on there and had a great match after that. And I tell that story because that's how good Owen was. He could tell a joke, play a rib, have a 5-star match in front of 20,000 people, and only he and I would know. That's how good of a worker he was in the ring. I mean, by far, he's probably the best in-ring wrestler I've ever been in there with. And Owen, even if he was older than you, Owen was like everybody's baby brother because we all protected him. That's how beloved he was in that locker room, and I miss him dearly. I wish he was here right now, but as long as you got an Owen story, he's always in your heart.
Well, you say that, and because it became so popular during the Attitude Era, Owen Hart's death, the Chris Benoit situation,
Yeah.
a lot of things sort of cast, a negative light as well. Something happened just this past weekend that in the past no one would have heard about. I'm
Yeah.
gonna, I'm gonna ask you about this Raja Jackson situation and what you make of it and how it's difficult for maybe someone from another sport to come in and understand how it works in wrestling and just this whole messy situation, how it played out over the weekend.
Yeah, and I only know what I've seen in the media, and it just seemed like a bad situation from the jump. And it seems like it could have been avoided in several different ways, but it unfortunately it ended up in the ring with Stu getting severely hurt. And first of all, let's give all our thoughts and prayers to Stu, and hopefully makes a full recovery because that's something that should never happen in wrestling. Um, Now we go to when you bring people in who don't know what's going on in your business or how to be part of your business, and they come in with a different mentality. Um, you get things like that happen, and it should have never ever happened. Let's make that clear. There's a lot of people at fault. There's a lot of people that could have done things differently, and let's just see how it plays out. But at the bottom line, I just want to say, I hope Stu the best in his recovery.
Yeah, a couple of heroes in that situation jumping in and pulling him off and keeping
And
him
thank
off.
goodness for the boys who did jump in there because Roger's a trained MMA fighter. I mean, that's dangerous. It's like jumping on a dude with a gun. I mean, friendly fire can still take you out. So the boys who went in there and handled business and took care of. Stu, I nothing but applause because you're the real heroes of the night, and you probably saved his life.
Yeah,
I
well said.
agree.
A very scary situation for sure, and we wish all the best to Stu in that recovery that he has moving forward here. So, you are obviously a co-head of talent relations with TNA for a period of
Hmm.
time, and this is sort of related to that, and we're seeing it a lot right now with quote unquote outsiders coming into WWE or other wrestling companies. Whether the first person to think of is like a Logan Paul, or I think of like
Yeah.
a Bad Bunny, and you obviously, you guys had that during your time with WWE when you were there. But how difficult is that transition to, bring in these types of people, whether it's celebrities or musicians? We saw Jelly Roll recently get into the ring
Mhm.
in WWE. As someone that's been on both sides of the business, what is the challenge to sort of elevate those types of people and bring them in to make sure that they succeed? Because the last thing you want to do is bring in a celebrity or whoever, and it just totally flops, and people don't buy it, people don't care, which is always the biggest worry. What is the thing that you believe has to be done to ensure that things go smoothly and that it does quote unquote go over?
The biggest thing is when and bringing these celebrities. It's about trying to get the to jump on pop culture and to use their celebrity to magnify what you're doing. And the biggest thing you need to get across to these individuals is please appreciate our business as much as you appreciate your own. And if you do that, you'll handle it with respect, and you'll be like a Jelly Roll who went out there and killed it, or even Bad Bunny who killed it. And then you look at the unicorn that is Logan Paul, who has picked up wrestling faster than anybody I've ever seen in my life. Um, you can see they really appreciate what pro wrestling is. And you see they're excited to be there and they really want to be part of the product. And when you got guys like that, it makes it easy, and it makes them easy to incorporate. It's when you have the one off who they're just doing it because they know there's another demographic they can join, they can try to tap into, and they really don't care about what they're doing. And you can kind of see the once again the low energy and just I'm here to get my paycheck and say my few words and move on. Those are the guys you worry about, and luckily there haven't been a lot of those. It's been more of the Logan Paul and Bad Bunny types that have really embraced what we're doing. And as long as it's going to be wrestling, there's going to be crossover, events where you bring in celebrities and you bring in, you know, rappers or DJs or movie stars, and you've got to find ways to incorporate them in there without hurting your product, but elevating both at the same time. And it's a slippery slope and a double-edged sword. But luckily, when you got guys who appreciate it, it's pretty easy to do.
D'Lo, we would be remiss if we didn't talk about John Cena. Uh,
Hmm.
John Cena, to me, is a guy who came in when the Attitude Era gave way and the Ruthless Aggression era gave way to the PG era. They handed the ball
Hmm.
to this guy and said, keep us relevant and keep us the number one wrestling company in the world. And not only did he do that, but a 17-time champion. He gets probably the only guy I can think of who basically came back and announced his retirement tour and has gone on a year-long tour basically with the company saying, whatever you want for the next year, it's all yours. And I can't think of a more deserving guy. Talk about your thoughts on John Cena, your relationship with John Cena, and his place in history.
I go back to John Cena all the way back to OVW days and seeing him there and watching him come and do dark matches prototype. And you mentioned a lot of his accolades, 17-time world champion and this huge retirement tour. I go to the man who, when they put the company on his back, when there was nothing else there, and you mentioned the PG era, when he carried the company and he was on the road 330 days a year because he was doing more Make-A-Wish events than any celebrity in the world, and he was still doing that with a full-time schedule. That's the dude. That work ethic, that desire to be the best is what kept and made John as impactful as he is this moment right now, because people could see that he was a kid who grew up watching wrestling. He was a kid who's having the greatest time of his life. And now he was the kid in front of the world having fun and entertaining. And that's the part of John that I embrace. I don't embrace the celebrity. I embrace the dude who did everything on behind the scenes when the camera was off, when no one was watching, he was still down with the product and doing everything he could to help build the company. And that's why he became as successful as he did.
I don't think it's been lost on anyone that when he left wrestling, he started doing as many dirty, R-rated, violent things as he could
Yes.
do forever, right?
Yes.
Peacemaker.
Bro, Peacemaker is John Cena just without no, that's the John Cena we saw without the camera on. So I appreciate Peacemaker.
It's great.
Yeah, it's giving an insight into the real John Cena in television show form. So it's interesting the career that John Cena has had, at least outside of the ring, and is going to continue to have in whatever he decides to pursue. And you mentioned in the earlier part of the interview, D'Lo, your relationship with Rocky, of course, Dwayne Johnson, who has become a massive megastar. The Toronto Film Festival coming up in next month. He's got a film there, The Smashing Machine, about Mark Kerr, the famous MMA fighter. But I'm sure people ask you about him all the time, and about young Rock and what he was like. Did you ever sort of envision this type of career path for him, where he would ultimately get to where he is?
I've asked that question a lot of times, and if anybody ever says yes, they're lying to you. No one can predict becoming the biggest star on the planet. No one can ever see that. Now, what you did see was Rocky's work ethic, sitting in the hotel rooms, cutting promos to himself in the mirror, looking at his facials, working on, you know, catch lines, hearing something in a song and writing it down, going, how do I incorporate that? That's the part you saw that, and you're like, oh, this guy, he's on a different level of intensity and what he wants to do, and he's got a clear vision of where he'd like to go. And then I just got to sit back and be part of the one of the greatest rides ever, and I had a front row seat to it to watch this dude go from being, blue tights, big haired Rocky Maivia that no one liked, to the evolution of The Rock, to moving forward to the final boss. To see that evolution is, man, he to say he's had a perfect career is underselling what he has done. And then to his crossover appeal, and then watching him struggle in his first couple movies, and being like, oh, I got to get better at this. In The Mummy, he wasn't the best actor, but then, in The Smashing Machine, he's got this dramatic role where he's going deep and he's somebody else. And so to see that evolution, it's special to have that front row seat.
I think I watched some clips on Facebook recently. Just every once in a while, one of those wrestling pages will set up a clip to remind you of, some of The Rock's greatest promos. And I believe you were in there. We cut a couple on you, a couple lines he used on you over time. Is there one that you remember? Is there a promo he cut on you where you had trouble staying in character, or was there a segment you were part of where you had trouble staying in character with him?
The first time he dropped, "What's your name? It doesn't matter what your name is," that always gets a reaction because it had never been done like that. That's stuff you did in the restaurant, or you joke with some new guy who was in the territory. You had never done it on TV, and the first time he had done that, man, I almost lost everything that I had inside of me. And to be on, have a camera right there in the red light, and millions of people on the other side of that red light going, "Don't break, don't break." That was funny. Damn, that was funny.
He's
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah, it really is remarkable what he's been able to accomplish, and it's just crazy to look back and think about all the things that he did. So before we let you go, D'Lo, got about 5 minutes left with you. As I mentioned, 30 years experience in this business. You've seen it all. As you continue to see the evolution of where this thing is going, there's a lot of talk in WWE about this Netflix era, and Jan mentioned before about pulling back the curtain. We've seen this WWE Unreal show where they really give you a
Yes.
sense of how the sausage is made, if you will. Where do you think that, this industry is headed in the next 5, 10, 15 years?
I mean, if you look at the trajectory of what wrestling has been just over the last 5 years, the upper mobility of what it is, um, there are more people enjoying wrestling on more different platforms in more different companies. There's more wrestling on TV today than ever. I mean, wrestling's on every day of the week across the board, and you get company lines being crossed. And with that, and the popularity of wrestling, Netflix, Peacock, now ESPN, Wrestling's going to be part of pop culture and be ingrained in culture. I mean, there's even talk of the WWE draft being on ESPN, being treated like a real draft, like the NFL draft. That's not something I ever thought I'd ever hear myself say, and it's a realistic possibility that could happen soon. Um, the business, there's no ceiling for what this could become right now. I mean, it's entertainment that is embraced just as much as Hollywood or Broadway or professional sports, whether it be football or basketball. So I mean, wrestling right now is at an all-time high, and I don't see it coming down anytime soon. And I think at that point, two groups win, the fans and the boys. And when the fans and the boys win, when those two group wins, it's great for wrestling. It's great for everybody.
Last one for me. Triple H talks a lot today about how he believes the company's bigger than it's ever been. I mean, the numbers certainly don't lie,
Mm-hmm.
but if not for what happened between 1997 and 2002, 2004, depending on what your thoughts are, I'm not sure we'd be sitting here having this conversation. We touched on him, Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Mm-hmm.
Finish telling me I sat in those Toronto stadiums for Monday Night Raws when 50,000 people would blow the roof off when he came out. But has there ever been, or will there ever be, another Stone Cold Steve Austin in your mind?
I've I've never seen anything like that. And you go with the historians in this business and what he did. The reason why there's all these network deals and there's a streaming rights and these huge money deals that are being made today is because of the foundation he laid starting in the Attitude Era. And that foundation was so strong that the industry is standing on top of that right now. And so I don't care how big the house is. I don't care how luxurious the house is. The foundation was the Attitude Era and Stone Cold Steve Austin, and that's what the house is sitting on right now.
Yeah, no, very well said. D'Lo, it was great chatting with you today. So many great stories, so many fun things to talk about. I know people watching this curious about what you got going on in your life right now. What's D'Lo Brown up to these days?
Well, I speaking of Toronto, I do a lot of work for Scott D'Amore and Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling. I'll be in Toronto in a few weeks. Also, I do some independent stuff. Rocky Mountain Pro Wrestling out in Denver, Colorado, as well as 3PWA in Corona, California. Just trying to help the next generation um, learn this industry and try to get a foothold in and try to help them avoid some of the pitfalls that young wrestlers fall into and try to help them to navigate their path up. So that's my thing now. If you guys ever want to follow what I'm doing, you can follow me on Twitter, X, at D-Lo Brown 75. I'm on there and I'll talk wrestling. I'll talk Chicago Bears football and Liverpool soccer. And occasionally I'll show you a steak I made every now and then. So if you want, hit me up, shoot out questions to me. I love engaging with the fans because without them, there's no D'Lo.